The Motorsport UK British Rallycross Championship Five Nations Trophy begins at Lydden Hill for round two. It's Ollie O'Donovan who starts on pole position for the Supercar final here with Victor Franks in the battery-powered RX2E machine alongside. Ollie O'Donovan on the outside of the front row, Jack Thorne, Robert Spittles on row two. Row three is Roger Thomas, Tristan Ovenden and Michael Seller. All eyes to the lights then, ready to go. Green light and blast off. Good start from Ollie, not bad from Patrick off the outside. Look at Robert Spittles in the C4, coming through from the second row. Victor Franks on the inside there, bit of contact with POD. Ollie's out wide as he makes a mistake. Jack Thorne on the inside now with POD. Spittles pushed to the outside. Here comes Ollie, back through and gets his elbows out there. He gives a shove to Robert Spittles as they come over the jump for the first time. So it's Franks from Thorne from POD. Oh, carnage further back there. Spittles off on the inside of the jump and Mike Seller also in some trouble as well, but Franks leads the way, but for how long? Because here comes O'Donovan up the inside for the reigning champion. On the brakes, contact there with Thorne as well as he goes into the back of Franks. Ollie says thanks very much as the door begins to open. Ollie O'Donovan now up into P3 as they come down into the braking zone of the final corner. Ollie O'Donovan goes into the Joker at the end of the first lap. Blimey, let's take a breath and see what's happening then here. So Ollie emerges in some clear air, relatively speaking, but not for long because he has got Victor Franks very close in front of him. So it's Patrick O'Donovan then from Jack Thorne, from Victor Franks, from Ollie O'Donovan, who's already made his Joker then in this one. So this could be quite nice here for Ollie if he's able to continue that same pace as he's got in the new Proton Iris, which made its debut in 2022 and is now looking a lot more pacey than it was at any point throughout last year. They've done a lot of development work behind the scenes of Team RX Racing, and he's now drawing alongside Victor Franks. Up the top of the hill we go, into the hairpin bend. Lovely switchback move there for Ollie. He leans on the side of Victor and goes through into third place. I have to say, it looks like Victor might be struggling with something mechanical here because all is not well with his car. Bit of bodywork flying off there just to compound his woes as well, as we look at this superb drone shot as we come across the timing line. Down to the first corner we go. It is POD, Patrick O'Donovan, the reigning champion, who leads the way from Jack Thorne. So two Peugeot 208s at the front of this race. Then Patrick's father, Ollie, sits in third position, followed by Victor Franks. And great to have Victor here in the battery-powered RX2E machine. He actually won his semi-final against Patrick O'Donovan earlier on here today. Incredible scenes. The crowd went absolutely wild down here at the circuit. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to repeat the same feat here because Patrick's pace is just tremendous out in that ex-Hansen run machine. It's the car that Sebastian Loeb used to drive in the World Rallycross Championship, and likewise Jack Thorne's car was previously owned by Andy Scott, and then I believe the Albertech Racing team before that. Victor Franks with all sorts of dramas into the Joker lap as well for him. He's just not having a particularly harmonious final out there on track. No such dramas for POD as he comes off of the jump into the left-hander of the Devil's Elbow and the run up to the top of the hill. Just to give you an idea of how quick Patrick is in that car, in the wet practice, the wet Q1 session we had earlier on this morning, he was some 5 seconds faster on the combined times. But look at how slippery it is, and look at that mistake there from Victor Franks. His race goes from bad to worse as he ends up in the gravel trap facing the wrong way, as Patrick goes into the Joker and emerges out of it quite comfortably in the race lead. Jack Thorne also following him through there as well. So Jack Thorne goes into that Joker this time around. Where's he going to re-emerge in relation to Ollie O'Donovan? Quite comfortably ahead, thankfully for him. So good enough of an advantage for him to not have to worry about anything immediately for the time being. But we know that Ollie, if you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. You can see the difference in lines they're taking through this Talladega corner, flicking it into the left-hander on to the jump for another time as well. Getting airborne for one of the first times today because the track has really dried out between the qualifying sessions and the semi-finals into these finals, so it's a lot nicer for the drivers to have to contend with. Here's Jack Thorne, who's doing great things out there in that Peugeot 208, sliding his way through, currently sitting in second position as POD comes across the timing line to start his final lap. On board we ride here with Ollie, bit of opposite lock, bit wide going into Paddock Bend. That's just going to cost him a few tenths of a second or so and maybe thwart his challenge ahead of this final lap of the race. Into Talladega we go then. Thorne really sideways, Ollie likewise into that corner, just gathering it up. You can see him working away at the wheel, pulling that sequential gearbox to try and get some traction, just pulling gears corner by corner. as he comes over the jump and onto the tarmac once more. Look how much dirt has been pulled onto that part of the track. Here is Tristan Ovenden with Robert Spittles. We saw him in the wars earlier on here today, and he is now looking pretty handy out there so far, is Roberts. It's a shame that it's not gone his way and he's ended up right at the back of the field, but no such problems here for Patrick O'Donovan. He comes across the line. 2 wins in 2 finals for Patrick O'Donovan. What a great start to his title defence in 2023. The perfect way to begin his campaign. Jack Thorne is going to hold off Ollie O'Donovan for second place at the checkered flag. Ollie on the podium with the Proton Iris once again in 2023, and Tristan Ovenden will get the better of the Latvian driver Robert Spittles at the checkered flag as well. So great for the Kent-based driver to get ahead of the Latvian, and unfortunately what a disappointing race it was for Victor Franks. Such a shame, all sorts of problems for him in that race, technical dramas, the mistake he made coming off of the jump as well. Clearly all was not well with that RX2E machine. Contrasting fortunes though for Patrick O'Donovan. What a great start to his season. Let's see whether he can take the fight to the front next time out in the Five Nations British Rallycross Championship.